Part 18. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 171. As a result, the exam needs to be taken immediately. Is this school so scary? No breathing space at all. Do you think the school allows us to enjoy such a big ship for free? If it's just for an exam, why bother using such a luxurious ship? Just use an ordinary ship to pick up and drop off our island, Oreki said. It saves costs. For it. This. Indeed. Although I came to this school, tuition was free and living allowances were also distributed. Although living expenses are paid through class competition. But it is undeniable that this school is indeed very proud. It's just that even if you are so wealthy, you still belong to the government and need to be funded by the finance. So it would be too wasteful to let them and all students, whether they are Class A or Class D, enjoy the services on the ship at will. And for the students to enjoy it so much, the school must come up with something to report. In other words, there is another exam. Then. Kamuro-san made a long face at the thought. Don't show that expression, Oreki-san said. You also know from the information you went to investigate that third-year President Horikita received a class evaluation score of 400 points and a large amount of points in this month's exam. So, the exam for class evaluation scores is now over. Then it's time to get points later. Both the second and third-year students have benefited from this exam, so naturally we should not miss this opportunity. To be precise, I don't care much about class evaluation scores. A huge amount of points is what I want to collect, Oreki said. Oh. I'm not interested in Class A's class evaluation scores. Kamuro-san was thinking. This time, Class D flew very fast. It skyrocketed by 650 points. And because Class A has concluded a contract with Class D, it will have to pay 800,000 private points to Class D every month. But it is undeniable that Class D seems to have made the biggest profit in this exam, but the final reason is, Oreki-san didn't take full action. Kamuro-san, who has been following him for a long time, or who was picked upon when he entered school, knows it very well. On the first day of school, Oreki-san was able to sell the school's rules to Class D without any scruples. So to sum it up, in this exam, it was really a safer approach to just bring Katsuragi-kun and the others to form an alliance with Kojinji from Class D, unlike his approach. Are you still keeping a straight face? Oreki noticed that Kamuro-san's expression didn't seem to relax. So he said, don't you want to keep your position in Class A? The evaluation score of our class is now 1,801 points, which is already a score that can only be obtained by non-yun second graders. At the same time, there is a gap of more than 800 points between Class B and us. According to my understanding of President Horikita, there will be no exams with too high scores in the future. Therefore, even if we keep losing in the special exams, then this year will be the same. I won't lose my position in Class A. What's more, it's impossible to lose, Oreki-san said. Oh. That's it? So Class A is safe. So being a student in Class A makes me feel at ease. Kamuro-san nodded slightly. But. She suddenly discovered a blind spot. Rather, she found the reason why Oreki Houtarou did not show strong attack power in this Kojima test. Because. It was her request, so he'd done it. For it. Because she hoped that Class A's position would be secure, and then he would contribute so much. Indeed. Before the exam, she confided in the other party because of her uneasiness. Result. Now, in the Kojima exam that just passed, was Oreki-san's prudent approach not in line with hers? Was it actually because she wanted Class A to be prudent, so that's why she did it? That is to say, Kamuro-san paused. Her eyes caught the other person's figure. At the same time, I felt that Oreki-san, who walked out of the corridor at this moment, had a lazy but rather delicate temperament. Especially the dark green pupils are quite beautiful. She recognized this boy's good looks. But she didn't expect that such a person would actually take action for her. "Am I important?" she murmured. Oreki looked over curiously. Because Kamuro-san suddenly said something strange. "Well. No, that dash." Kamuro-san said quickly, "Sakayanagi Arisu actually gave me an order to follow you and pay attention to your interpersonal relationships. It seems that you need to report all the information about the people you come in contact with to her." Profound. Sakayanagi wants Kamuro to follow him again. And this follow-up is a little different from the past, more like catching an adulterer. She couldn't travel because of her health. At the same time, Oreki and the others had to travel outside the school for more than 10 days. During this time, no matter what happens, or your heart beats, it's normal. But, in other words, Sakayanagi-san, you are too possessive. Oreki-san sighed softly. Although I find it strange that Kamuro-san suddenly became well-behaved, isn't it a good thing to be on his side? Think so. He noticed a thin white line on Kamuro-san's left shoulder. Probably the threads on the clothes. But beautiful girls are a group that pays great attention to their image. Oreki decided to help her get it. Then. "Stand still for now," Oreki said. Then walked towards her. Then when the distance was enough, he put his hand on her shoulder. Kamuro-san is very tall, but he still suffers a little more than him. And Kamuro-san was surprised. Because Oreki-san is very handsome. It is also very popular with girls. However, because there is Sakayanagi Arisu in the class, everyone is not so ignorant. Result. Is he this kind of person? Think so. Kamuro Maesumi saw Oreki Houtarou approaching. His left hand pressed on her shoulder. So what does she do now? Refuse. But does she have the right to refuse? And although what she experienced when she came to the school were basically miserable things, it was undeniable that if she could graduate as Class A, that would be what she was looking forward to. So now she still needs Yuzu Sakayanagi and Houtarou Oreki. The presence of these two people gave her a feeling that Class A was very stable. And the first kiss, etc., if the partner is a handsome guy, it will make people feel that there is something to remember. Thinking about it, she seemed to be able to hear her own heartbeat. Because Oreki Houtarou is recognized as a handsome boy from the first grade. And he had already come closer. Kamuro would not take the initiative to observe a person's appearance, but it was undeniable that when he looked at Houtarou Oreki up close, besides being handsome, he felt that he was quite cute. And the lips are also very thin. What would it look like to kiss thin lips? Oreki's left hand had already left Kamuro-san's shoulder. I took out a 6 cm piece of thread. It turned out that Kamuro-san had closed his eyes. Her eyelashes were very long. She seemed a little nervous when she closed her eyes, and her eyelashes trembled. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 172. After about 10 seconds passed, Kamuro-san, who felt that he had sensed nothing, opened his eyes. "Is the sun too dazzling?" Oreki-san asked. "Need to close your eyes." The divine room. Maesumi Kamuro. Did she misunderstand? Maybe it's because I've been staying in the dark just now, so I don't feel comfortable with it. Kamuro-san then had some great answers. Oh, Oreki-san didn't pay attention. His body is no longer the same as that of ordinary people, so he has no worries in this regard. But I just took off the thread for you, Oreki said. You have helped me wash my clothes these days. After thinking about it, I can't let you just go out with the thread on your back like this. So saying, Oreki showed the 6 centimeters piece of thread to Kamuro-san. Oh. It's because I've been taking care of him and washing his clothes these days, so he's been given special attention by the other party. In other words, the other person just wanted to help her remove the threads on her clothes. Only then did Maisumi Kamuro realize that she had just become a nymphomaniac like a stupid girl. This is really nasty dark history. Think so? She noticed that Oreki-san was still looking at her. Well. Kamuro-san quickly put on a straight face as usual. After all, she didn't want to be found out that she had such a stupid fantasy. Oreki-san, on the other hand, felt very relieved. Show that you are not lustful. Even though he was so close to Kamuro-san just now, he didn't waver. Really? He didn't immediately become interested in girls after looking at Horikita-san's underwear. So it's not a troublesome physique that everyone can do. However, doesn't this confirm that he is indeed interested in Horikita-san? Some people say that love comes quickly. It may be that you suddenly dreamed about the other person when you were dreaming at night, and then when you saw the other person the next day, your heart would automatically add to your liking. It may also be that you see a certain side of the other person that has a strong impact on you, and then you fall in love with the other person. Oreki-san felt that he had gained new experience points. But this time, this is to inform all students. The voice of teacher Hashinomi Yachie from Class B suddenly appeared on the ship. Hashinomi Yachie is a cute girl who is somewhat similar to Kushida-san. Although she is already a big sister, her voice is still quite sweet. But what you say makes people care. The school has just sent an email containing contact information to all students. Please confirm your mobile phone individually and follow its instructions. In addition, if you have not received the email, please contact the nearest faculty and staff. Since the content is very important, please do not miss anything during confirmation. Repeated again. Listening to the announcement on the ship, Oreki-san smiled. It looks like the exam has started, he said. Yes. Even though he thought he was doing something stupid just now, Kamuro-san, who seldom saw the other party smiling, felt a little dazzled, but he immediately said with a straight face. Because she had just been deceived once and could not be fooled again. This is to inform all students. The school has just sent an email containing contact details to all students. Please confirm your mobile phone individually and follow its instructions. In addition, if you have not received the email, please contact the nearest faculty and staff. Since the content is very important, please do not miss anything during confirmation. Repeated again. And the same sound of notice spread throughout the ship. And then it was indeed repeated. Including Class C here. After spending 50,000 points to pay Oreki Houtarou, Ryuan came to his class. To be precise, he is now holding a post-exam reflection meeting for his own small team. That means we failed miserably in this exam. At the same time, the students in Class B recorded the plan they laid out at the beginning, and then they reported it to the student union when they returned to school. Because the certification evidence is all there, it is basically impossible to change it. 100 points will be deducted from the class evaluation score, Long Yuan said. Then our exam this time is equivalent to only getting a 50-point class evaluation score, and then the class ranking was even lower. Canada, who was wearing glasses, added. Now gathered here are Ryuan, Canada, Ishizaki Daiichi, and Shiina Hiyori. And Albert is guarding the goal. But is it really okay if Ibuki doesn't come? Shiina-san said. She is not the only girl in Longyuan's small team. She knew that Ibuki was also valued by Ryuan. And Ibuki is also very good at executing the cruel trick without any delay. Didn't Ibuki come? She is similar to Ibuki, they both belong to the type in class, who don't have many friends. Ibuki is relatively simple. I'm worried that if I tell her the plan, others will trick her out, Ryuan said. And she has a simple mind. I didn't know what to think at the time, but she was actually thrown directly to Class B by Houtarou Oreki. I see. So Shiina-san stopped asking any more questions. Ibuki-san is like that. Relatively simple. But I think the information provided by Oreki Houtarou is very reliable. Hiri-san expressed his opinion. There should be another exam. And because I didn't really want to play, I basically stayed in the room reading a book. Looking out the window, the ship seemed to be continuing around the island. No intention of returning. I see. Shiina analyzes it from this perspective. Ryuan felt that maybe he should start this gathering from the beginning, so that he would not have to pay the 50,000 points to Oreki Houtarou. After he returned to the ship, he collected these 50,000 points from the students who did not take the exam and returned to the ship to rest first. Because how could he survive alone on a small island while his classmates did nothing? Ibuki, Ishizaki Daiichi, and Kaneda were all on missions, so their points were waived. But not others. So I collected 50,000 points. Be prepared to use it as your own living expenses. As a result, he was deceived by Houtarou Oreki again. But that guy Oreki said the exam might be either tonight or tomorrow, so we have to make some preparations, Ryuan said. So what are we going to do this time? Although I know that there will be an exam, I feel like I have no clue, Kaneda said with some distress. Today is another person in charge of academic performance in Class C and one of the think tanks. He was regarded as the second think tank besides Shiina by Ryuan. I'm not sure either, Long Yuan said. You have to know the specific exam. But it's not like you did nothing on the ship. Class D, has Class D infiltrated? The spy got it, Ryuan said. In this case, under the temptation of points, there are students in Class D who are willing to cooperate with us. But the other party asked to give him 20,000 points every month until graduation. The lion has opened his mouth, Kaneda said. But now that Class D has received so many class evaluation points, I'm afraid they will have points next month, so this spy is probably going to fly. Saying this, Kaneda sighed lightly. It seems that everything has been bad for Class C since this time's Kojima examination. Moreover, if they can't change their fate now, their class will be officially demoted to Class D when they return to school. What a terrible experience. Hee. Long Yuan felt really unlucky. But he shook his head again. Don't worry, the spy can still be used, because those guys in Class D have a lot of money. I don't believe Oreki Houtarou can be so kind. He even took the 50,000 yuan in my hand, which means that he probably took most of Class D's 650-point class evaluation score this time. That's true, Hiri said. The girls in Class D said that during this exam, Gao Yuanji issued a military order. As long as he gets a class evaluation score of 600 points, and then he gets 200 points, Horikita Suzun will get 300 points, and then the 100 points will be divided equally among all the students in Class D. Long Yuan. So cruel. After getting 650 points, the class was given 150 points, and then the remaining 500 points were swallowed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 173. And from Ichino's narration, the guy from Kojinji put in a lot of effort in this exam, and was even willing to sacrifice himself and retire due to illness. Result. Among the points obtained, Takahiraji only got 200 points, and Horikita Suzun, well, because I saw Oreki-san and Horikita Suzun appearing in pairs several times. Therefore, Ryuan is very sure that the 300 points scored by Horikita Suzun should belong to Oreki Houtarou. In other words, Oreki Houtarou's score for his class, Class A, was stable in this test. At the same time, He also took action from Class D. Oh, this guy is indeed a gold-swallowing beast. 300 points, put in a class, is equivalent to 1.2 million points per month. This made Long Yuan a little envious. But he can't do this now. The current situation in Class C is very bad. If he fails to seize this opportunity, the students in the class will rebel against him. If you still fly Class A, then you will be abandoned first. After all, he has no record. So the plan he originally thought of getting an agreement with Itchy Nose and the others, and then asking Itchy Nose and the others to steadily give them points, but his plan to extract 1/3 or half of the points was no longer possible. Because the record is terrible. As long as you take a small percentage from it, you will be scolded. Therefore, this agreement can only be regarded as confiscation. Anyway, let's continue to collect points, Long Yuan said. Although I don't know what the content and direction of this exam will be yet, it is still beneficial to control the person first. Clear. Canada-san stood up and prepared to execute it. But this time, this is to inform all students. The school has just sent an email containing contact information to all students. Please confirm your mobile phone and follow its instructions. The announcement on the ship rang. Then came the voice of Class B's homeroom teacher Hashinomi Yachiet. In other words, the exam has started again. There was not enough time left for him to operate. My 50,000 yuan was really thrown into the water and there was no sound at all. Ryuan cursed. Others looked at him with some sympathy. Because this was the third time Ryuan had been defrauded by Houtarou Oreki from Class A. But several people quickly lowered their heads now. Because after the school's broadcast announcement, they noticed that the information about the exam from the school had been sent. On the deck, Oreki-san also received a message from the school. Kamuro-san followed him. Oreki noticed that this time the information was received by both of them at the same time. In other words, the school sends them in bulk with just one click. So that's probably it, edited information. Why do you need to edit the information separately for students when you can announce the exam directly? Oreki thought about it. The school information on the mobile phone was also opened. The school's alternative name is XF. Similar to transfer. The special examination is about to begin. Ask students to assemble in their designated rooms and at the designated time. Those who are more than 10 minutes late will be punished. Please gather at room 204 on the second floor at 6:30 tonight. It takes about 20 minutes. Please wait until you have used the restroom and turn your phone to vibrate mode or turn off the power before coming to the meeting point. In the information, the content and direction of the exam were not informed. There is not even a special note marking the name of the receiving student. But, after reading the information, Oreki looked at Kamuro-san. Kamuro-san then handed over the phone. The special examination is about to begin. Ask students to assemble in their designated rooms and at the designated time. Those who are more than 10 minutes late will be punished. Please gather at room 206 on the second floor at 7:30 tonight. It takes about 20 minutes. Please wait until you have used the restroom and turn your phone to vibrate mode or turn off the power before coming to the meeting point. The information for both of them was sent by the school, but the gathering time and room number were different. And the time now is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Oreki-san is about to go to room 204 to take the exam. Let's start a class group, Oreki-san said. Gather the information that everyone receives. Clear. Maesumi Kamuro nodded immediately and started working. The same instructions were passed to Class B and Class D. Class B. Diddy. After reading the messages he received, Itchy Nose found that he had received a new message. Because I thought it was more important, I made a special mark on the other party's address book. The message tone is different. Any information about Houtarou Oreki? Opposite Itchy Nose sat Ryaji Kanzaki. The two of them were reviewing the small island exam of Class B this time. For this exam, Class B didn't win, but it didn't lose miserably either. Because the worst thing is long UN. Although, at the beginning, after learning that the leader information of Class B was leaked, Oreki-san suggested that Shirami-san should be allowed to catch a cold and quit. But, at that time, Ichino's almost rejected this plan outright. Although Kanzaki Ryaji felt it was a pity, he never thought about sacrificing the health of his classmates for victory. Then he also knew that this time Class B could guess that Ryuin scored 50 points, and Oreki-san had contributed a lot. At the same time, I also owe the other person a favor. Because the other party can also choose to contact Long Yuan and get the information about the leader of their class. At that time, all three ACD classes will guess Class B, then Class B will basically have sent it. So I owe the other party a favor. After returning to the ship, there will be another exam, and that exam will cooperate with me. These are Oreki-san's exact words. In other words, he chose to turn the favor directly into a transaction. And now, the exam on the ship had been notified, and then he and Ichino's also received information from the school. So do you want to cooperate? Houtarou Oreki is willing to give up the opportunity to join forces with Ryuin to directly push Class B further away, which shows that the test on the ship that he values may be of great value. So, do they want to? Let's execute it, Ichino said. We owe Oreki-san a favor. And in this exam, I think Ryuin might do something. With Oreki-san's cooperation, we might be able to take precautions. Yes, Kanzaki Ryaji nodded. In fact, he felt that Ichino-san was too conservative and not radical enough. This is different from what he thought. He is the more radical kind. But he felt that he probably wouldn't be able to do it just by relying on his words. So we can only play it safe first. During the exam on the island, spies actually appeared, or the ambition of the people in Class C Ryuin below to climb up the ranks also shocked him. God knows how Ryuin and the others from Class C will fight back in this exam. At the same time, current class evaluation score. Class A 1801 points. Class B 970 points. Class C 490 points. Class D, 730 points. The score of Class A was disappointing, but he also went to the bulletin board of the second grade teaching building, where the evaluation score of Class B, the second grade student, was also around 1000. Therefore, their scores in the third month of enrollment are almost the same as next year's second grade Class B. It's not a shame. Moreover, a large number of points lost in the first month's Code of Conduct exam were recovered in one fell swoop. But 15 students in the class participated in Oreki-san's store opening plan. Although they opened a store and sent it, they had to pay points every month. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 174. This made Kanzaki Ryaji a little uneasy. Ryuin scolded the plan and stated that it was a money scam. But now that the class evaluation scores have increased, I should be able to survive. After all, if it were to be terminated now, the losses to the 15 students would be huge. And Class D. Kushida Kikyo. Kushida-san also received a message from Oreki-san to collect information about school text messages received by Class D classmates. Although I was very unhappy that this guy Oreki Houtarou treated her as a test subject and then showed no interest in her. But let's do it now. After all, Oreki Houtarou gave her a reward of 50 class evaluation points this time. And according to her understanding of Oreki, the Kojima exam ended and Horikita Suzun got 300 points, but 270 of them belonged to Oreki Houtarou. In other words, in this exam, Horikita Suzun only scored 30 points. And here she is at 50 points. Although she didn't get any money here, but it was still acceptable to gain popularity. In this way. About 10 minutes later, Oreki-san got a large amount of information in front of him. A total of 109 pieces of information. In fact, it means recording the name of the person and the room they were assigned to and the time they went there. From the information collected from the students, we can find that everyone goes to 12 rooms from 201 to 212 to gather at about 6-9 p.m. At the same time. The time to go to the same room and the same class is consistent. Other classes are separated. For example, Oreki and two boys named Takemoto and Machida were informed that the time to go to room 204 was 6:30. Then Ichi-nose from class B was also informed to go to room 204, but the time was 6:45. When we arrived at class D, we were told to go to room 204 at 7 o'clock sharp. However, class D's execution ability is indeed poor. Kushida-san is already the image of a little angel in the class. Then this exam also brought a positive bonus of 50 points. As a result, even in this case, she only collected 29 pieces of information. So if you only recommend Horikita-san, you can imagine the information that can be collected. In other words, if you want to win this exam, you have to be tougher on class D. The school gave me a free opportunity to show off my skills, so there was no need to cut back on plans just because of class D. Oreki stayed in a coffee shop, while Kamuro-san was taking notes. Although the content of the exam is not yet clear, Kamuro-san's recording and statistical work has been roughly completed. She has already compiled the list of ABD class classmates who took the exam related to Oreki-san. The students who went to room 204 like him are as follows. Class A, Takemoto Shigeru, Machida Koji, Oreki Houtarou. Class B, Hanami Ichi-nose, Tetsuya Hamaguchi, Ryota Bippu. Class C, Unknown. Class D, Miyake Akito, Kurosawa Megami, Sotomura Hideo, Yukimura Terahiko. Ichi-nose is inside. When seeing this name, Kamuro-san murmured. Ichi-nose-san. When they were at school, it seemed that Yuzusaka Yanagi had arranged for Oreki to keep an eye on him because he wanted to meet with the representative of Class B. Then in this small island exam, I also had personal contact with it. He is a unique and heart-wrenching existence. And now, I met Ichi-nose again. He even took the exam in the same room as Oreki Houtarou. Oreki knew that Kamuro-san, who had become a good boy, was here to take on Sake Inagi-san's task of exploring his interpersonal relationships. But does Kamuro-san care about Ichi-nose now? But it's a pity. What Oreki was thinking about was that the cutest girl from Class D, Kurosawa Megami, was also there. She was full of affection for him. And this is what makes Oreki-san most at a loss. Think so. 6:30. The exam for privileged candidates begins. Chapter 082. This time is Kurosawa's occasion. Am I not good enough? At 6:25 p.m., Oreki arrived in room 204 5 minutes early and followed the instructions of the message received on his mobile phone. But he is not alone. Also participating in this exam were Shigeru Takemoto and Koji Machida. They are all members of the Katsuragi faction. Takemoto-san is slightly chubby, while Machida-san is very thin and tall, 5 centimeters taller than Oreki-san. However, from the information collected by Ichi-nose and Kushida, it was known that this was also an exam that all members took part in. The number of students from different classes entering the same room is different, some are 3, some are 4. There are only 4 people at most. At 6:30, there were only 3 of them who needed to enter room 204. Ding dong. As a student in Class A, Takemoto immediately rang the doorbell before arriving at the examination room. And the Takemoto-san here is the one who Oreki learned from Kamuro that Ichi-nose was soaked in the rain on the island, and then borrowed an umbrella from him. Please come in. Slightly thick but full of air. This voice is very familiar to the students in Class A, because it is the voice of the homeroom teacher, Mr. Mashima. Students in Class A correspond to the class teacher of Class A. Takemoto-san and Machida-san looked at each other, then both looked at Oreki. Oreki-san then chose to push open the door and enter. The layout inside suddenly came into view. The size of the room is okay, about 30 square meters. You can see a lot of folding chairs placed on one side, but not all of them are spread out. There are only 5 chairs. One of them is occupied by Mr. Majima in a suit, and the others are all empty. From the information of each class that Ichi knows, Kamuro and Kushida especially combined, we can know that the only people who came to this room to take the exam at this time were 3 students from their Class A. As a result, Mashima-sensei prepared 4 chairs. As for Oreki, there are only 3 of them. Mr. Majima is the head teacher of Class A and is a very strict person. There is a kind of Katsuragi-san who doesn't like doing unnecessary things when he grows up. So it was probably chairs prepared for the 4 students from other classes later on. That is to say, it is as expected. Multiple notifications are required for the same room. In other words, all students are divided into groups and then notified multiple times. And this needs attention. Notification will be made in batches of as few as 3 people and as many as 4 people. Don't you think it takes too much time to explain such a batch exam? Moreover, Oreki-san noticed that Mr. Majima was only holding a stack of materials. He did not have a pen in his hand, and there were no pens provided for students to use in the room, so this was not a written test. Is this an exam only for the 3 students in their Class A? Sit down in your seat first, Teacher Mashima said. Oreki-san took out his cell phone, selected his homeroom teacher's number from his address book, and dialed it. Doo-doo, the phone you dialed has been turned off. The prompt is the sound of the other party shutting down. To prepare for the exam, you need to put your phone in vibrate mode or turn it off. No photography is allowed in this exam, said Mr. Majima. Sorry, Oreki-san said, choosing to change his phone to vibrate mode. And soon, the phone vibrated and received a message. Chibashira-sensei's phone cannot be reached and is turned off by Horikita Suzune. This is a message from Horikita-san. In fact, Oreki already knew the result. Similar to Mr. Majima, Mr. Chibashira cannot get through on the phone now, so he is probably doing the same work as Mr. Majima. In order to avoid interference, all mobile phones were turned off. It shows that for this exam, the teachers have indeed prepared and worked tirelessly to assess several students. Is it so complicated? Oreki-san was the first to think. After watching the students all sit down, Teacher Majima looked at the time. At 6:30, I gave them a stack of information. The teacher had 4 pieces of printed paper in his hand, and after dividing out 3 pieces, he put the last piece aside. Then, this time it's a special test. The school will break up all first-year students into 12 groups. We will hold exams within those groups. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 175. Now the content of the grouping and the rules of the exam have been sent to you. And this time the test is aimed at testing thinking ability. So I won't say much. Mashima-sensei said. I won't say much, which means students need to think about it themselves. Thinking ability, in other words, means the ability to think and think deeply. Oreki looked at the paper he got. The first thing that catches the eye is the list of members of the divided groups. Class A, Takemoto Shigeru, Machida Koji, Oreki Houtarou. Class B, Hanami Ichinos, Tetsuya Hamaguchi, Ryota Bippu. Class C, Mio Ibuki, Shiho Manabe, Nami Yabuna, Saki Yamashita. Class D, Miyake Akito, Kurosawa Megami, Soto Murahideo, Yuki Muraterahiko. It seemed that people were drawn from each class, but the number was not 4 in each class, and some were only 3 students. According to the probability that there are 160 students in the entire grade, they will be divided into 12 groups with 13-14 students in each group. The 12 groups are named according to the 12 zodiac signs of rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. Among them, Oreki and the others belong to the rabbit team. And he has actually collected this information except for the members of Class C. But when you touch the paper with your hands, you will notice that it is a double-sided paper. You can tell from the texture when you pick it up and touch it that there are actually words on both sides. This exam is based on the preferential recipients assigned to each group as a benchmark. 1. The school will send an email to notify students at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. At the same time, the fact of selection will be communicated to those selected as preferential recipients. 2. The exam schedule is from tomorrow to 9 p.m. 3 days later. 3. The team members must gather in the designated room twice a day at 9-10 a.m. and 20-21 p.m., and conduct 1-hour discussions respectively. Students who do not cooperate will have their class evaluation points deducted accordingly. 4. The content of the discussion is entirely decided by the group. 5. Regarding the answer part, you can answer questions freely during the exam. In addition, one person can answer the question once at most. The exam for this group will end immediately after answering the questions. There will be no deduction of class points if you answer questions between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the third day of the exam. 6. The school only accepts students using their mobile phones to send letters to the designated mailbox to answer questions. 7. Prefares do not have the right to send answers by email. 8. All responses to groups other than the one you belong to will be considered invalid. 9. The school will notify all students of the detailed examination results by email at 11 p.m. on the last day. This time there are many more rules than on the uninhabited island. Oreki immediately started sorting out what he knew. That is to say, the school will send another text message to students at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning to announce whether the students have been selected as preferential recipients. The preferential recipient here is a student randomly selected from each of the 12 groups to become a special being. Somewhat similar to an undercover game, people in the same group find the person who is the preferential treatment person to obtain rewards or punishments. And finding this undercover agent here is also a bit interesting. During the exam deadline, which is between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the third day of the exam, if everyone finds the recipient and unites as one, everyone except the recipient and the class to which the recipient belongs will not participate in answering. If the answer is correct, everyone will receive 500,000 points, and the person receiving the preferential treatment will receive 1,000,000 points. 50W for each member of the group, 1,000,000 for those with preferential treatment. However, the answer is still between 9:30 and 10 o'clock on the third night. Then among the 12 students, as long as one of them answers incorrectly, or not all of them answer together, then the preferential recipient can get 50 UN individually. Thousands of points. Preferential recipients will receive 50W individually. Answering during the exam answering time here will not involve an increase or deduction in the class evaluation score. But you can also answer questions. The examination lasts for 3 days. And within 3 days, you can answer at any time. However, points will be deducted or added if you answer questions quickly during this period. The first is to score points for correct answers. During this period, if other classes guess the preferential recipient and answer correctly, then this student can get 500,000 points and also bring 50 class evaluation points to the class. At the same time, 50 class evaluation points will be deducted from the class of the person who is guessed to be receiving preferential treatment. Class add 50 points, individual 50W, class for preferential treatment minus 50 points. The one above is the correct answer. So what if the answer is wrong? Once you guess wrong, the class to which the person who guesses incorrectly belongs will have their class evaluation score deducted by 50 points. The class to which the preferential treatment recipient belongs will receive 50 class evaluation points, and the preferential treatment recipient himself will also be awarded 500,000 personal points. The class with the wrong answer minus 50 points, the person with the preferential treatment gets 500,000 points, the class with the preferential treatment add 50 points. This is a bit like guessing the leader on an uninhabited island, except that this time the leader is called a preferential treatment person, and the reason why he is called a preferential treatment person is to look at the results. Except for being guessed by the answer, he can do everything get points. So I was really given preferential treatment. It's just that the identity of this preferential recipient is not chosen by the school but by the school, not by the students. At the same time, students will not be notified until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And Mashima-sensei continued. Now the written information will be recycled immediately after you leave the room, so if necessary, write it down on the spot. And it's only 15 minutes. Because the rules are very complicated, the exams are continuously announced in batches, and then a game similar to finding an undercover agent is played. The members of a group come from 4 classes. No wonder the test question is called thinking. Oreki-san was thinking while supporting his chin with his left hand. He noticed that Machida-san and Takeki-san were sweating profusely and started reciting it quickly after Mashima-sensei said the record period, which was only 15 minutes. This is the advantage of being the top student in Class A. I don't care what the rules are. If you're good at memorizing them, just memorize them first. Because the exam is very long, a full 3 days, right? And such a large-scale examination must be in charge of Katsuragi-san and Oreki-san, so they only need to bring the materials back. Oreki-san noticed the behavior of his 2 classmates. He sighed softly. Because, sure enough, even taking exams together would feel a little boring if I only have my male companions around me. If he had Sake Inaga-san, Horikita-san, or even Kushida-san with him, he would be able to think faster. However, Oreki-san quickly analyzed and digested the information provided by Mr. Majima. That's why this exam is so complicated from notification to exam rules. It is to allow students to do thinking, and the end of this route is a huge amount of points. At the same time, as long as you finish this job, you can take a break. After turning over the rules paper in his hand and reading it twice, Oreki handed the paper back to Mr. Majima. Are you sure you don't want to watch it? It's better to say that I have finished reciting it, Teacher Mashima said. Then you can wait a little longer, Oreki said. Then he pretended to take back the paper with the rules printed on it. Teacher Mashima. Actually, Mashima-sensei has something to say. The examination on the uninhabited island and the examination on the ship have always been the practice over the years, and it is also an assessment point given by the school to the new students. Here you can increase your score or accumulate points. Past. Nagayuna's Class B has laid the foundation for points in this month's exam. And Horikita-gakushi's Class A got the foundation to score higher in this month's exam. But this time, Class A has achieved very good results in the Kojima exam. Got a high score of 471 points. Although not as good as Class D's 650 points. But for Class D, who knew the school rules, he could deduct 1,000 points in a month. Almost all teachers don't think Class D can do anything good. I couldn't even find the expression on the face of Class D's homeroom teacher Saichi Bashira. Rather, it's more like being autistic. Because this time the exam almost took the 6th assistant of Juonji alone to turn the tide. Juonji dived to the island in advance. Then he found out all the strongholds and took advantage. Then almost all the teachers on the beach saw Juonji dragging his sick body to apply. In the morning of the 7th day there was a legitimate reason to change the team leader. It means there is a fierce guy in Class D. And the teachers probably know this fierce man's information. He is the only son of the Takahiraji Zaibatsu. Excellent in all aspects, but extremely unsociable. His performance in interviews was so bad that he was almost remembered by the interviewing teachers. However, because of his unique status, he was assigned to Class D. It was probably very embarrassing for him to graduate like this. So Kojinji probably wants to collect 20 million points and finally graduate American Samoa Class A. Because rushing to Class A with Class D is not what the heir of a chaebol would do. I probably collected 20 million points and then quit. And as the head teacher of Class A, I have greater authority. Teacher Mashima knows that if Class D really has a chance to touch Class A, the school will intervene. Although it is a bit cruel, the school is run with tax revenue. If students from Class D are really released, they will be sprayed to death. And this is probably why Chibashira is so autistic. If there are more and more powerful people in the class, then you can only watch them go solo. Thinking of this, Mr. Majima looked at Oreki-san. As a teacher who has taught for one semester, Mr. Mashima understands that there will never be another exam with such a high score. So Class A is basically ready. Mashima-sensei always felt that Oreki Houtarou was very different. Katsuragi-san represents stability, while Sakayanagi represents radicalness. Oreki Houtarou not only did radical things, but he also maintained his composure during the Kojima exam this time. It shows that he is a person who can tolerate both advance and retreat. So, as a member of Class A, Oreki-san will choose to continue to score points in this current exam, or will he choose to gain points? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 176. Then how many points do you get? Oreki Houtarou just wants to make a lot of money. Although I intervened in the content of Class D's Kojima exam, I was assigned a class evaluation score of 270 points. Then students in Class D need to pay him 270 x 40 equal 1.08 million points every month. This point comes from the class evaluation score of Class D. So I can only give it if Class D has points. And because Yuanji is here, in order to protect his points, Yuanji will definitely take action when Class D is about to send it. Maintain their share of points. Therefore, Yuan Temple is a guarantee. It can last at least 6 months. But this part of the points is used by Oreki-san as repayment if one day the sponsor, the senior sister, asks him to take back the points. Although it feels good to be taken care of. But Oreki was unable to determine the identity of the other party. I tried to have a precognitive dream with the sponsor's senior sister, but the dream was blank. Therefore, the information here about the financial sponsor, senior sister, is still unclear. But as a person who doesn't like trouble, he will be prepared to make compensation for breaking up. Although it is a bit excessive, if the sponsor senior sister is very troublesome, then we can still break up. And now, it's better to make money quickly. After the 15 minutes of reciting the rules was over, Oreki turned his phone off vibrate mode and gave an order to the students in Class A. Memorize the list of participating groups. In particular, we need to have information about the students in Class C of each group. The time is 9:20 p.m. Notifications for the last batch of students have been completed. And the call to Mr. Mashima was answered. It means that the teachers have completed their tasks today. Oreki's phone didn't vibrate, but Kamuro-san's phone beside him kept vibrating. And these are all reports made by the students in the class. And very quickly, the list of previously lacking Class C students has been filled. At the same time, Oreki also saw an interesting grouping. He is in the rabbit group. And Horikita-san is in the dragon team. At the same time, Oreki had already obtained the list of members of the dragon team from Katsuragi-san. There was no need for him to provide information in person. But after discovering that the exam rules this time involved class evaluation scores, he took the initiative. A total of 159 students, Sakayanagi was absent, took the exam and were divided into 12 groups, named after the zodiac sign. Then there will be a treater from each group at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. As for the class where the favored person is located, as long as the favored person is guessed by other classes, the evaluation score of the class that is guessed correctly will be minus 50 points. Then the determination of the preferential recipients will not be known until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And how many preferential treatment recipients are there in a class? What if the 12 preferential recipients are all from the same class? Then this class is going to explode. If all 12 preferential recipients are guessed, wouldn't it be minus 600 points directly? Although I think this probability is not that incredible, but what if it really happens? As long as there is a 1% possibility, Katsuragi-san cannot accept it. So, as a solid man, Katsuragi-san immediately cooperated with Oreki-san. So the update of the group's member list was completed. In this way, the team members of Dragon Group are as follows. Class A, Katsuragi Kahei, Nishikawa Ryoko, Tower Shiki Shinji, Yano Koharu. Class B, Seo Endo, Ryaji Kanzaki, Hitomi Tsub. Class C, Takumai Oda, Hidetoshi Suzuki, Masashi Sanada, Sho Ryuan. Class D, Kusada Kikyo, Hirata Yasuke, Horikita Suzuan. The total is 14 people. And this group is quite interesting. As one of the representatives of Class A, Katsuragi was placed here. And over there in Class B, there is also a classmate Kanzaki Ryaji. At the same time, for Class C, Ryuan Sho is already here. As for Class D, Horikita-san, Kusada, and Hirata. These are all things that can be said in Class D. It's hard not to speculate whether this dragon group brings together the class representatives of the four classes. Only Oreki-san himself was not in the dragon team, and at the same time he also discovered that Ichinose was not in the dragon team, but was in the rabbit team just like him. His words. Oreki-san doesn't like troublesome things, and Mashima-sensei should know this, so it's not surprising that he wasn't assigned to the dragon team. But the dragon team is a gathering of heroes, and Class B only has Kanzaki-san, and it is really strange that Ichinose is not in the dragon team. Anyway, let's call Horikita-san out first. Thinking like this, Oreki also noticed that there was a girl with long purple hair next to him. This is Kamuro-san, and at the same time, Kamuro-san accepted the mission from Sakayanagi-san to pay attention to the interpersonal relationships around him. In other words, it would have worked well before. But now it would be in the way for her to stay. Then. Okay, Oreki-san said. Kamuro-san, you can go back and rest. You've had a hard day today. You can go to bed early. The divine room. Kamuro-san looked at him in surprise. Because? Isn't Oreki-san still the same as that guy Sakayanagi? When I need to use her, it's Kamuro-kun, please. Then when you're done with it, you can go and do whatever you want. When others are finished, they are driven away immediately. So, if she had the chance to choose not these two people as her master, she would definitely give it a try. Even so, Kamuro-kun, who wanted a new master, nodded, I understand. So, she got up and prepared to leave. Oh, Kamuro-san, I have one more thing to ask of you, Oreki said. Inform everyone in the class to gather at the Gabriel Archangel restaurant at 7:30 tomorrow morning. At the same time, you go to the Gabriel restaurant and ask the waiter for permission to book the restaurant. I will make up for the points you spent later, Oreki said. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, the school will send information about whether you have been selected for preferential treatment. Our class will need to confirm it then. Profound. In other words, regarding this exam, Oreki Houtarou is ready to attack. She was assigned to the monkey group. Then the teacher who told her the exam rules was Hashinomi Yachiet. At the same time, the exam rules she got were the same as everyone else. In addition to the same rules, it is the group list of the monkey group you are in. As someone who is not good at learning, it is really difficult for her to recite. The rules and results of this time's preferential treatment test are very complicated. So she was also thinking about how to deal with it. In the end, Oreki Houtarou decided to take over. If he wants to inform the entire class, he must directly take over the class's assessment. Besides, you may be able to get a reward of 250,000 yuan, Oreki-san added. 25, 10,000. The current class evaluation score of class A is 1,801 points. Next month, the school will score 180,100 points. So there is no shortage. 250,000 or something. She found that she was not that excited anymore. So the class evaluation score of Class A, Kamuro-san asked hesitantly. It won't be lost, Oreki added. Class A will not lose points in this exam. I can guarantee that. Profound. That's it? Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 177. As a student of Class A, Kamuro-san suddenly gained a sense of security. So Maesumi Kamuro, a classmate from Class A who became in a cheerful mood, walked out of the private room. However, at this time, she saw a pretty fox-eyed girl walking from the opposite side. That's a girl from Class D. Horikita Suzune. In fact, when Kamuro-san follows Oreki-san, he often sees him having private meetings with Horikita Suzune. And when he first opened a store and invited classes B and C, he was often seen taking very beautiful girls with him. But Horikita-san has always been treated as background. The proof is that when she meets Oreki-san, she usually brings a vocabulary book with her. In other words, he looked like he was studying seriously. And this kind of person is probably not someone who is passionate about love. Familiar classmates Kushida also said that Horikita Suzune was a rather dignified person and had to study for more than 10 hours a day. How terrible this is. As a poor student, Kamuro-san couldn't understand why someone could devote so much time to studying in a day. And Horikita Suzune's academic ability is not bad. If she had to study so much to become a top student, she would rather not do it. And people who love reading so much and spend so much time studying will definitely not fall into the whirlpool of love. Because there is no time at all. And when Sake Inaga-san reported to Horikita-san, she seemed to have smiled and said, "Is there Horikita Suzune from Class D?" Although Oreki-san likes to go to Class D. But there's nothing scary about Horikita Suzune. Horikita-san probably doesn't even know what love is, but just wants to spend his time studying. So Horikita-san, who had nothing to fear, passed by Kamuro Maesumi. Neither of them is the type to have any friends. So even if they pass by in the same corridor, they won't say hello to each other or anything like that. And Horikita Suzune came to Oreki. She seemed to be trotting over. But he was in good health and not out of breath. Before this plan, "Can you shake hands first?" Houtarou Oreki said. "It's best to shake hands every day in the near future." Horikita Suzune frowned slightly. "Did Kushida contact you? To be more precise, Kushida sexually assaulted you again?" Oreki Houtarou's resistance to female lust is probably too low. "No," Oreki said. "Just wanted to confirm something." Horikita. "All right." If the request was just made suddenly, she might refuse, but she had been shaking hands with Houtarou Oreki for a week. It has become somewhat of a habit. And Horikita Suzune also wanted to confirm. Are you really in love? Both times he felt unwell, both times he got better instantly because of physical contact with Oreki Houtarou. It's like a miracle. Sakura-san said that love brings miracles. This is ridiculous. But this is already the second time. Although she is cold and awe-inspiring. I also like someone. Then, there is no experience in getting along with others. But I also read romance-related novels, such as Anna Karenina, Madame Bovary, Gone with the Wind and other famous works. So I probably know what love is. But, will this happen to me? Now in high school, she just wants to study hard, collect 20 million points, gain the approval of her brother, and prove that she is not a waste. Want to become better. So love or whatever, it no longer has its place. Think so? At Oreki-san's invitation, she chose to sit down. Oreki stretched out his left hand and she raised her right hand. The two held it. He immediately came into contact with the other person's body temperature. But I want to change things up a bit this time, Oreki said. This may cause some trouble for you, but Horikita-san, I hope you won't be tempted. If you have any thoughts about me, then please postpone it. Wait until graduation, Oreki said. This is really ridiculous, Horikita Suzun said. It sounds like I'm going to fall in love. So saying, she saw Oreki-san's palms facing up. For it. Is this asking her to buckle down? In this posture, it would be with the fingers interlocked. Oreki-san is not good at dealing with girls. Although she helped, Kushida must have used the same attack. That is to say, Kushida and Oreki have held hands like this. By the way, where did Kushida learn all this? Although I think so. For Horikita Suzun, the requirements are not very high. Just shake hands. She thought. Then they intertwine their fingers with Oreki-san. Then start feeling it. Experience. There was no feeling of my body becoming lighter again, no sense of opportunity. All I can experience is peace of mind. So this is definitely not what Sakura-san calls love. Suzun thought. Then let's get down to business, Oreki on the other side said decisively. Then he also withdrew his palm. Because. Already confirmed. He has indeed become a troublesome person. Her body seemed to be craving for skin-to-skin contact with Horikita-san. And isn't this the same as the person who was pressed by Kushida's fingerprints for the first time, and then had dreams about Kushida-san for several nights in a row? It seems that I have to trouble Horikita-san to accompany him for desensitization training for a while. Oreki-san thought. Then. He picked up the paper and pen on the table. Back to this exam. It's time for us to plan. Oreki paused for a moment, then said. And I call it the 40 million plan. Chapter 083 Kushida surprise, Horikita Suzun, you took the wrong medicine. I call it the 40 million plan. Oreki-san said. 40 million. Horikita-san, who was initially a little shaken by holding hands, suddenly regained his composure. Yes. You have read the rules for this exam, right? Oreki said. I've memorized it, Horikita said confidently. You can write it now. Then you are great. So, why do you all memorize it directly? Just record the list of the same group. Can't you understand and digest other rules? He gently touched his hair. Oreki-san was quite gentle today. So he said, then let's sort out the exam rules. The school divides students from 4 classes in first grade into 12 groups, and each group has members from 4 classes. Then a preferential candidate will be born in each of the 12 groups. The rule of the exam is to find this person's status of favored recipient. Oreki-san said. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yu Yet. Chapter 178. Then there are 4 test results that finally appeared. If the group members don't rush to answer, then if you answer between 9:30 and 10 p.m. on the third day of the exam, you will see. Result 1, the group members guessed the identity of the favored recipient. 50 W for each member of the group, 1 million for those with preferential treatment. Result 2, no points will be deducted if the identity of the preferential recipient is not guessed or the guess is wrong. Those with preferential treatment will receive 50 W individually. And in the case of rushing to answer, quickly guess the identity of the favored recipient of the group, guess the correct class, add 50 points, individual add 50 W, favored recipient's class minus 50 points. The identity of the preferential recipient of the wrong answer group, the class with the wrong answer minus 50 points, the preferential recipient 500,000, the preferential recipient's class add 50 points, dot. The final result is these four. Oreki-san wrote out the result and handed it to Horikita Suzune. And when Horikita-san came to understand, Oreki-san added, according to the information we have obtained, your brother received a class evaluation score of 400 points in this month's exam. And Nanyun received more than 5 million private points. Your brother probably took a prudent plan in order to protect the points he had already obtained. And Nagamo's side is for point activities. Then it's time for us. As he said this, Oreki-san looked at Horikita-san. Don't forget, you still have the task of collecting 20 million points. For it. It seemed as if he was caught at once, so Horikita-san began to listen obediently. So, among the information contributed by the seniors, the class evaluation scores for the Kojima exam have been obtained, so now is the time to get the points. And if we want to do it, we have to do it efficiently and big. Oreki said. Although the rules are very formal and require students to meet every morning and evening, and then use conversations to determine who is the preferential treatment, find out who is the preferential treatment, and conceal that they are the preferential treatment, but the exams have to review the questions. The test question is thinking. It's thinking. They are divided into groups, and they meet formally every day to observe, guess, and test each student. But this is just a requirement of the school. They must take the test according to the rules. This is not thinking. So, I speculate that the real test questions actually hope that students can jump out of the questions and stand in the perspective of the person who asked the questions. If I were the person who set the questions, then I would indeed let the students break up, but I would also give opportunities to those who can think. For example, the selection of the preferential candidates for the 12 groups will be traceable. So, a list of everyone's participating groups needs to be obtained. The next step is to verify whether the preferential treatment recipients will appear regularly. Horikita-san was quiet. Because, as expected of you, the exam rules have just been announced, but you have already thought of taking a shortcut. And it makes sense. The exam officially starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow. As a result, the 4 teachers each spent 3 hours explaining the rules to different students in different batches. It seems very troublesome. And if you follow the rules step by step to discuss who is the preferential treatment person every day, and then whether to answer the question, it is just a test. Then the link of thinking is missing. Result. Is the school trying to convey that those who receive preferential treatment are actually regular? Oreki continued, if you guess the recipients of other classes correctly, you will be rewarded with 500,000 private points, and then add 50 class evaluation points. So this time our goal is to collect a large number of points. No, I only got a 30-point class evaluation score in the Kojima exam, so a 50-point class evaluation score is also very important to me, but Suzune interrupted him. Oreki-san found that he was almost misfired by Horikita-san. What this means is that Suzune cooperated with him and was awarded a 30-point class evaluation score. But without her knowing, he directly gave Kushida a team leader guessing session worth 50 points. She was thinking about the difference. Well, that's for comfort and for contacting Kushida later. Oreki-san comforted Horikita Suzune. Because it's a troublesome matter, I'll give her a sweet treat first. Horikita. So the ringtone continued to listen. Ahem, Oreki-san then continued. The 4 results of the exam have been listed for you. Have you noticed the result 1? Result 1, everyone insisted on answering until the last deadline on the 3rd day, and then all the group members guessed the identity of the preferential recipient. Each member of the group 500,000, the preferential recipient 1 million. There are 13-14 members in a group, and each person in a group gets 500,000 yuan, and the preferential recipients get 1 million yuan. In total, they get 7 million to 7.5 million points from the school openly. And this is just one group. Then the numbers for the 12 groups are dash. Oreki said. And he had already noticed that Horikita-san was writing numbers quickly on the paper he wrote her test results on. In fact, this numerical mental arithmetic can also be used. But she listed them on the paper very carefully. 700 x 12 equal 84 million. 750 x 12 equal 90 million. In other words, in this exam, if all students take result 1 and no one rushes to answer, information about the preferential candidates will be sent from 9:30 to 10 p.m. on the 3rd day after the exam ends. No one jumped the gun, everyone cooperated. Then you can get a huge amount of 84-90 million points from the school openly. This kind of points. For this exam, I want 15%, Horikita Suzune said immediately. Huge amounts of points have been calculated on paper. She is already tempted. In other words, no one will be tempted. The most I can get from the school every month is tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even 200,000 in living expenses. But now, there are tens of millions in front of us. It feels like you can rest for several years after just one job. So she doesn't deny that this opportunity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, then, she must ask for as many points as she can. She now has a total class evaluation score of 50 points in Class D. You can deposit 200,000 points every month. More than 2 million in 1 year, and 6 million in 3 years. Adding to the more than 2 million she currently has in hand, she is still far away from 20 million. But the current exam is 90 million. Horikita-san felt that she had to fight for it. 1 percentage point means a lot of points. You are greedy this time, Oreki said, the maximum is 10%. It's too little. Horikita-san seemed to be in a difficult mood. A lot, Oreki-san said, because I want to collect the huge number of points that the entire grade can create. So take them all and they won't agree. So I only take half. That's close to 40 million. It's profitable for them, so the probability of accepting it is high. So this is the 40 million big plan he talked about. Then if you only give me 10%, it will still be 4 million. Horikita Suzune seemed to be a little shaken. Although it is still far away from 20 million, if you can gain 4 million at once, it seems acceptable. I can only give you 10%, Oreki-san said. But you won't lose. Your brother is the student council president and continues to transfer 50,000 points to me every month. So our collaboration is not over. Oreki said. And now all you get is a share of the 40 million plan. But there is still 40 million to give to the students, right? Oreki-san smiled. Having been in this top-notch school for several months, do you think they will still spend money as casually as they did at the beginning? I'll definitely save it or give it to my class representative. And when the time comes, we just need to get it back from their class representatives or them. So, for your 10%, you can get another 3 million to 4 million by then. That's already a lot, Oreki-san said. But Horikita-san looked at him in surprise. Because I thought it was too much for him to take away 40 million points from all the first-year students. As a result, he actually didn't want to let go of the other 40 million? Therefore, 10% of her share is 10% of the more than 80 million that students can get from the school. If calculated this way, she has more than 2 million on hand, and although her brother knows that she has some money, he still transfers 50,000 every month. So there are 3 or 400,000 accumulated in 1 year. In 3 years, Class D can give her more than 6 million, plus the more than 2 million she has received now. That is to say, a big plan worth 20 million, a plan that only Oreki Houtarou has completed so far. She might as well be done. Horikita. Horikita. Ringtone. Oreki-san. Horikita-san suddenly looked directly into his eyes, so much so that he held his hand without Oreki-san's request. Her eyes were bright and seemed to be shining. What can I do for you next? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 179. And this is exactly what it looks like to be completely tempted. Is this the case for you too? I didn't expect that you, with such a ringtone, love money so much. Oreki-san was also shocked. Because the lawyer Horikita in the dream was a very fair person and didn't like money. He often defends justice without any reward. Result. In the face of getting huge points now, is not even Horikita-san immune to this? Looking at it this way, in the Kojima exam, the 50-point class evaluation score that Ryuan received in the Kojima exam could have been kept privately, but Kushida-san chose to send it directly to the class and only gained fame. She is really a strange woman. But Horikita-san is in combat mode, so that's just right. It can be aroused. Then Oreki-san said. The exams for preferential treatment recipients are regular. So we have to get this pattern. Now I have the list of students in all groups. If there is someone receiving preferential treatment in my class, I will know about it immediately. And you also need to provide information on the preferential recipients. With information about a certain amount of preferential treatment recipients, we can deduce the rules. Oreki-san said. And the students in your class also need special attention. Students in Class D don't know how to act. So if there is information that you are a favored recipient, 80% of the time it will be leaked immediately. This is related to a plan to get 80 million from the school openly, and then we will eat 40 million first. You have to treat it with caution, Oreki said. Horikita. In other words, the students in Class D are unreliable. Once the information about the preferential recipients is leaked, the situation of all students trying to make money from the school will be destroyed. Yes. Especially this time, Ryuan's Class C got 0 points in the Kojima exam. So I definitely want to do something. Ryuan's class will become Class D as soon as they return to school. He definitely doesn't want to. So. He who can survive on an uninhabited island for 7 days in the small island exam will definitely know how to use his hands and feet. And the students in the class. As a student of Class D, Horikita-san knows what to expect. The students of Class D don't know how to keep secrets. In other words, the students in Class D must be cut off from Ryuan. So what Oreki-san is saying here is that he requests that the students in Class D not be allowed to know the information about the preferential recipients. In other words, all mobile phones of Class D students must be confiscated before the exam. And this kind of thing will definitely offend people. The students in the class will definitely not listen to her. Understood? Because it was related to a big task in which he could get 4 million directly and would have another 4 million in the future, Horikita Susan nodded cautiously. She will do what she can do. Then. At 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, it was obviously the time when everyone needed to sleep, but Oreki-san received Kushida-san's garbage. What? Horikita Suzun actually asked her to help maintain the class's evaluation score. So I need to use her strength in this exam. For this reason, he is even willing to become friends with her or something. This kind of thing. Kushida felt quite disgusted. She has been trying to become friends with Horikita Suzun since she entered school. But being directly rejected by Horikita Suzun, and even directly told that since she hates her, contacting her will only make both of them annoyed. So she ignored Kushida's actions of getting up early and going to her door countless times. And Kushida also reported. Everyone was going to have a celebration party for the Kojima exam this time. She went out of her way to invite Horikita, but was rejected. Oreki-san happened to see this scene. So, do you agree? But being harassed by Kushida, Oreki-san only cared about this. Agreed by Kushida. Although I think Horikita Suzun has ulterior motives, I can't refuse I have to be friends with her. Oh. So Kushida-san still has a secret in his heart. I have to constantly struggle with Horikita Suzun. But Oreki-san didn't want to get involved with her inner secret. He speculated that it was something that would be very troublesome if he heard about it. It's just that Kushida-san is so easy to talk to. So what if he takes the opportunity to make a request now? Considering that I am not good at interacting with girls, I have become a terrible person. He hoped that Kushida-san could give him some more experience. Among the books that Ichi knows when to look for before, it was actually a work called The World's Most Favorite Oppai. Lily works. One of the heroines likes Oppai very much. I hope to post with the second female lead every day. After all, it was Baibo who confessed his love to her. Therefore, we can only refer to Lily's works that the two chose. Oreki-san also gained some experience points from this work. Then I applied it to Kushida-san. Just when I was watching the 13th chapter of this work in the afternoon, the protagonist Kinkaio suddenly had a whim and recalled his childhood ideals. That's the muff that wants to be a beautiful girl. Although I think this idea is very subtle. Or maybe I was too embarrassed to mention it. Then if I wish. Oreki-san felt that he could challenge himself. No. Kushida quickly refused. Profound. So Oreki-san, who was rejected, decided to turn off his phone and go to sleep. Then the next day came. 7:30 in the morning. All the students in Class A, except Yuki Sakayanagi, who did not come, gathered at the Archangel Gabriel restaurant. Last night, Kamuro-san paid 100,000 points to book the venue. So now the students of Class A have this place exclusively. Since it was morning, everyone also ordered food. But Oreki-san and Katsuragi-san are not here. They were in the lounge off to the side. About this time's test for privileged recipients. Katsuragi-san said. It's not yet confirmed how many preferential recipients will be in our class. But I studied the results for an evening. Sure enough, if there are too many preferential treatment recipients in the class, then it becomes dangerous. Our class now has an advantage in class evaluation scores, Katsuragi-san said. I suggest we keep this advantage. That is to say, students must be prevented from rushing to answer, giving wrong answers, and other behaviors that deduct points from the class evaluation. And after knowing the identity of the favored person in his class, he must protect him carefully. So I want to plan. Katsuragi-san is still as steady as ever. There is a way, Oreki said. As long as everyone goes to result 1 and everyone passes the level with points, then there will be no issue of class evaluation scores. But there is a price. If we go to result 1, and the students in the class are awarded 500,000 private points, I will take half of them, which means I will take away 250,000, Oreki said. Oh. However, Katsuragi-san nodded to this statement. If this is the case, then I can promise you now on behalf of the students of the Katsuragi faction who believe in me. Take away 250,000 from everyone. Don't you struggle? And he agreed directly. There are currently 19 members in Katsuragi's small group. Oreki Houtarou's Strength First Classroom. Author, Yet. Chapter 180. It seems that because of his solid performance in this exam, 2 more students supported Katsuragi. Result: Katsuragi just agreed? Well, after hanging out with the students of Class D for a long time, Oreki finally remembered that he was a student of Class A. Students in Class A only need their status in Class A to be guaranteed. Then it doesn't matter whether you take the exam or not. Only those who graduate from Class A can go to the school they want without taking exams for free, or find a job in the company they want. This is what everyone wants. This is the big watermelon. So the little sesame seeds in the middle need to be thrown away, and they will throw them away. Especially now that Class A has such an advantage. And for their supporters, when Katsuragi-san needed 1,000,000 points to buy the student union, members of the Katsuragi faction made support investments when they didn't have many points in hand. So Class A is safe here. And the other side. Class D, first grade. All the students in Class D were informed by Hirata-kun and Kushida-san, and everyone headed to the theater together. Including Jyuan Temple. My time is very valuable. Jyuan said. He actually doesn't like the group activities of Class D, or in other words, he feels that he is out of tune with the students of Class D. And many students are not worthy of his leadership. And Jyuan Temple is not willing to waste his time. Moreover, now that the class evaluation score has been obtained, the 20 million task has been basically completed. So Kojinji continues to be itself. At this point in time, for him, it is the time for daily bodybuilding training. I'm sorry, Takaharaji-san, this time it's to protect the class evaluation score, said the gentle Hirata-kun. So please join us. Oh. Gao Yuanji blinked slightly. Does maintaining the class evaluation score mean maintaining the current advantage? The current class evaluation scores for the 4 classes are as follows. Class A 1801 points. Class B 970 points. Class C 490 points. Class D has a score of 730. Among them, 200 of the 730 points are his. The class needs to pay him 200 x 100 x 40 equal 800,000 points every month. This is his bottom line. It's also a bit of pressure. Because this is Class D, these students in Class D are hopeless and are likely to lose their class evaluation scores again. So he had to watch. But if these guys are willing to defend it by themselves, then he doesn't need to contribute. Therefore, Jyuanji is somewhat interested in seeing how they play. Then I will stay for a while, Jyuanji said. So he sat on a seat. Early morning drama theater was empty. Very empty. The stage staff didn't come either, and the show started at 10 o'clock. And now it's only 7:30. So there were only 40 students from Class D present. After Hirata-kun appeased Kojinji, Kushida-san, the little angel with short blonde hair, also started to take action. Then next, please take a look at these information. Kushida-san, who always smiles, maintains the status of a little angel. However, some students noticed that she was holding a stack of information in her hand. And Kushida distributed these materials. What is this? Could it be that this is dash? The students who got the information were a little surprised. The first thing that caught my eye above was the words I saw last night. Isn't this the information about the rules I saw last night that I didn't understand? The teacher said we are not allowed to take pictures or take away. How did you get it, little Kushida? After getting the information in their hands, the students exclaimed. Some people, or most people, have read the information, but do not fully understand it. I relied on my memory, then checked with other students, and then printed it out, Kushida said with a smile. But don't you know how terrifying what she said is? In fact, most of the students went to different rooms according to the text messages last night and were informed of the rules. Although they were given 15 minutes to read and recite. But it's a pity. I don't even understand the rules very clearly. So how to carry it? So now there is a paper version of the information directly. That would be great. Kushida-san. Too strong. It was very helpful again. The students were called here early in the morning, some even wanted to stay in bed, but now they are sober and at ease. Because I was called to take the exam and couldn't even understand the questions. It's not like my brain is the strongest and I just need to shout 666. So they are also a little stressed. And now I immediately feel at ease. Then let me explain the rules of this exam, the gentle Hirata-kun said. Hirata was actually not informed by Kushida until 6 o'clock in the morning that everyone gathered together. Then he went from room to wake up all the students and call them here. Kushida-san said that Horikita-san memorized the exam rules and thought they could do something for this exam. So the three of them discussed it. It was finally decided to inform the students about the rules of the exam. I also hope that Class D will not participate in the rush answer session in this exam and maintain its current advantage. Hirata has no opinion on this matter. The current class evaluation score of 730 points, of which 530 points are allocated to Horikita-san and Takahiraji-san. So what belongs to everyone is Class A's monthly points of 800,000. Then there are 800,000 points worth 730 minus 520 equal 200 points. Adding the two together, each student can share 40,000 points equally. It's enough for basic life. This is what Hirata wants to see. After the examination rules were explained, Hirata looked at Horikita-san. Horikita-Susan has been waiting aside. After Hirata finished speaking, she stood up immediately. So, the time now is 7:45. In another 15 minutes, the school will send information on whether the candidate has been selected for preferential treatment. Horikita-san said. And everyone will hand over their mobile phones individually. During the 3 days of the exam, I hope everyone will use the backup machine. A backup machine? Some classmates looked over and found that she had been carrying a big bag. There are mobile phones with black casings inside. The style looks very similar to the white style mobile phones we usually use. That is. Wang Miu, a girl sitting in the front row, was a little curious. This is a backup machine that I spent 400,000 to apply to Chibashira-sensei and get permission to use. The functionality is the same as our mobile phones. During this exam, you will use these mobile phones first, Horikita-Susan said. Why is this happening? Hospi Haruka said. I'm still getting used to my phone. Hospi-san is a girl, very beautiful, with long blue hair and a mole. But it's also quite individual. So I was a little repelled by the idea of putting my phone away. Horikita-san remained expressionless. He said solemnly. Just now Hirata-san has explained the exam rules to you. In this exam, if you rush to answer the questions, points will be added or deducted from the class evaluation score. The scores in our class are hard-earned. If they are deducted, can you accept it?